Today is a fabulous day for Denise Huskins, for Aaron Quinn. They are absolutely 100% not just not guilty, but innocent.
That the lawyer for Denise Huskins, the woman kidnapped in the so-called Gone Girl case. This story reminded people of that Ben Affleck movie where his wife faked her own abduction. Now, people thought this case was a hoax because, frankly, the Vallejo police called it that. Cops didn't buy her boyfriend's story. He said people broke into their home, bound and drug him, then took her and demanded $8,500 in ransom. She turned up safe 2 days later, which was just hours before the ransom was due. Now, even after the FBI arrested this guy on your screen, Matthew Mueller, and they charged him with that crime, the cops who called this a hoax, they're standing by their story. Here's the captain of the Vallejo Police Department.
I believe the police department did do a good job.
So does the department still stand by the statement that it made so publicly 4 months ago that this was a hoax that wasted valuable city resources?
Yes, but we're also continuing to investigate it.
Now, before we get to the hoax comments and the snickering at the table, again, I got to just give you a few more of the facts here because it keeps getting stranger. Guys, to me, the biggest shocker out of this was if you read, and it's compelling reading, the FBI's own report, the guy left the phone at the scene who kidnapped it. In the interim, and this isn't funny, he allegedly committed another similar crime, bearing all the same hallmarks of this. Apparently, they even put in calls to the police, apologizing for what they had done or sent out a note to the effect. There's legitimate reasons that, forget that the cops got the wrong people in the beginning, that they let the bad guy go, and then forget what happens after the fact. They still won't admit they're wrong. Let's just get to the front end of it. I mean, this is Keystone Cop stuff. I can't believe, and it's the FBI. It's not like the Innocence Project saying you got some. The FBI is saying, oh my God, these people were victims, and you're accusing them still of committing a hoax. Have you ever heard something like this?
Not in recent memory. I mean, why doesn't anybody admit it when they're wrong?
Wouldn't it be great if you said, "Oh, I had a client who did the same thing"? Yeah,
I probably did. I said not in recent memory. It's bizarre. I mean, the FBI has presented some very compelling evidence. They don't charge people easily. They've presented that evidence, and they're just backing this police department up against the wall. All they need to say is, something, they found something we didn't find. We made a mistake.
Yeah, wasn't the phone left after the second crime, and that's how they implicated him in this crime?
Well, he left the phone there, and they did use that phone to tie him to this crime. But have you read about this guy's history?
Yeah, everything leading up to it. Stuff in Harvard Law these days, right?
It's just bizarre. With it. The police department should be saying, something, let's work with the FBI, let's give them whatever we had. If they do believe in their own story, go to the FBI and say, this is why we decided what we decided, and come to the right conclusion.
You're a former prosecutor.
They're creating a reasonable doubt.
Right. Here's my point.
True. Good point.
Nobody, as much as maybe some do, but the vast majority of the public doesn't expect cops are perfect, okay? I mean, tough job and everything else. Forget that they should say we screwed up now, right? I mean, these people were victimized.
Yep.
And they went through, forget the civil case they might have and everything going on and what kind of remedy or recourse they may have. The fact of the matter is, you're supposed to protect and serve. Now, you screwed up, you didn't listen to them, and you're maintaining it's a hoax. Is this just, it's not just Vallejo. This is PDs across the thing. They can't admit they're wrong. Is that because of liability, or is it because they just don't want to admit they're wrong?
No, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of police departments just aren't experienced in certain types of cases. They're bedroom communities where they basically deal with DWIs and stuff like that. It's rare that they're going to have to deal with an abduction or kidnapping allegation. For all I know, I mean, the police may have taken a look at this and said, who kidnapped somebody and then only asked for $8,500 ransom?
That's what I thought when I heard it.
Yeah.
So I mean, releases them before the money's even due.
It seems to me, in fairness to the policemen, and I buy everything that the FBI is saying, but it seems to me that at some point the police chief in this police department has got to be held accountable, and he's got to basically come forward and explain how it is that they came to the conclusion that this was a hoax. I mean, because you can't get into his head. We don't know what they knew that led them to think it was a hoax. Obviously, their hoax theory has been totally thrown out the window by the FBI.
I mean, I think that the default position of police is the blue wall of silence position, and it's to take care of their own and cover for their own. In a way, I respect that, but there's a diplomatic way to answer that question.
Is the concern more Is it systemic, just like you said, blue wall, or is it the minute they say, yeah, we screwed up here, then open the floodgates, because that's exactly what
you could say,
the
wait,
attorneys looking in a civil suit are asking for.
I think a police, and I'm not, as I've said on the show many times before, I'm no great friend of the police, but you could see that they could have a siege mentality. There's a way to answer the question and say, let's let the justice system and the process play out as it will, and we'll have further comment.
Without admitting that you were wrong, without saying that we screwed up, just let's...
You always
let's-
get yourself in more trouble by covering it up.
But wouldn't it be refreshing just once
Yeah.
to have a police chief get up and say, you know what, we really screwed this up.
And we feel terrible for the people that we blame for their own kidnapping.
That's exactly right.
Suppose they're acquitted and vindicated.
No, the best police officers I've ever worked with did exactly what you said, Bill. And as a prosecutor in White Plains, in fact, with a detective who we were given some additional information, and he went out and grabbed all that information, took it by the horns, and we ultimately realized that the guy we were prosecuting was innocent. And we did the right thing. We didn't get sued. Nobody got sued. It was the best feeling you could have, because your goal should be to serve justice, not win or lose. One of the issues, though, also as a prosecutor, is that your most difficult cases are when you have police who are not lying about what actually happened. The incident itself happened, but they feel that they have to make it better. So you start adding a little more information because you think it's not quite good enough. And to your point, people don't expect them to be perfect, but they kind of think sometimes, some of them think that it has to be perfect. And we always would say, when you look at the end of a police report, it says closed by arrest. And what that means to us is that they feel that it doesn't have to be more investigation. And you can look at Carlos Perez in the Bronx, where the FBI told the Bronx DA's office that these are not the guys. The murderers are our confidential informants. Right. And the Bronx DA's office left these guys in prison for an additional 5-10 years.
But here's the other thing, though. There's been a sea change in the way these things are covered, going back to Jean Benet. There's no secrecy. There's no space to do the investigation in private, to make mistakes, to follow up leads that may be wrong, may be fruitless, may be fruitful, because the media is conducting a parallel investigation, and they're being confronted with allegations
it
of
took 22
mistakes.
minutes, but I knew somehow, some way, we the media were going to get
Well,
blamed.
it's a race to the bottom between you and me.
And again, what's Mark here doing? I thought, how did we get another white guy at the table? All right, coming up next, some shocking cases of child neglect. Here, a father forgets his 3-year-old daughter at a Subway sandwich shop in Harlem, doesn't even notice till the next morning. And how about that Bronx mom who was arrested after her toddlers found shoeless running the streets in diapers? In the eyes of the law, I'll ask our table, is neglect treated differently than violent abuse?